Russian President Vladimir Putin says that he got nuclear weapons that are invincible.
And that the nuclear arms race is back on.
Dolores Cannon was born April 15, 1931, and died in 2014. She was an American hypnotist and a self-published author of 17 nonfiction books composed mainly of transcripts from past life regression sessions. After thousands of regressions and many decades of work, she started teaching her own patented Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy, or QHHT. The topics that Dolores' hypnosis subjects recall range everywhere from mundane early childhood memories to non-human lives spanning various galaxies, dimensions, millennia, and even species. After several years of exploring and becoming more comfortable at guiding her patients through these areas, Dolores unexpectedly established communication with multiple non-hostile, benevolent alien beings who communicated through her subjects while they were in trance. In her book, The Convoluted Universe, she focuses heavily on metaphysical concepts such as the power of conscious thought and intent, and how we understand and relate to the concept of time. She also speaks about different dimensions which coexist along ours, parallel universes, parallel lifetimes, and alternate realities. Let's see what Dolores has to say about nuclear technology.
There are dimensions all around us all the time. There are people living in those dimensions. There are cities, there are civilizations. We can't see them because they're vibrating at a different frequency. It's just like when you watch a propeller blade or a fan blade, when it speeds up, it becomes invisible. They're vibrating at a different frequency, but they're there. The ETs know how to go back and forth between these dimensions. And as she was saying in the book Twitters, and I've had many, many cases of that, we constantly go back through dimensions too, and we're not even aware of it. But these dimensions are all around us, and they said if we were to blow this planet up, it would also have reverberations into those dimensions, and it would be like undeclared war on those innocent civilizations. So we cannot destroy this planet. That's the one thing they could step in and stop us. Now, down through the history of the earth, there have been many, many civilizations that have risen to the height of civilizations, much more than we are today. They were highly developed mentally, and they could do things with their minds that we can't even begin to do. Atlantis was one of them, but that was not the only one. There were many, many others before that went down. Even they reached the height. I have these several stories in my books about this. One of them where they succeeded in blowing a hole in the ozone layer, which sounds familiar, doesn't it? Scientists were experimenting and they went too far and they created a hole in the atmosphere, in the ozone. The heat of the sun came through and burned large places of the earth, and this is where the large deserts in the world came from. Because at one time they were very lush, beautiful civilizations, and they said nothing will ever grow there again. That was one time. There have been many, many times when we have civilizations have destroyed themselves because of what they were doing. And Atlantis was another one. But many times they have had to come in and step in and stop it because it was getting to the point that they could really harm the earth. And I did get some information. This is in the new book I just published, about 3 waves that I'd never heard before about Atlantis. I thought I knew why it went down, because the scientists misused the power of their mind, they misused the power of the crystals, and to where it did cause a big disruption. Everything is always the men, guys. I'm sorry, but it is always the men. The men always want the power and the greed, and they have a beautiful, wonderful world, and all of a sudden they're wanting more and more and more. And to where I knew they were going against the laws of nature because they were interbreeding animals and humans. And I have a lot of cases of those too in the books. And they said that could not be allowed because they were going against the laws of nature. They kept experimenting with all kinds of weird things. So I thought I knew the reason why Atlantis had to go down, because they were violating the rules of nature and wanting too much and causing disruption. But I had a case just this last year, and I think I put it in the 3 waves, that gave me an explanation I had never heard before of why Atlantis had to go down. They said they were working with dark matter, which I think you can think sounds like antimatter. The scientists, they said, were working with dark matter and doing things they weren't supposed to be doing with it. And scientists always want to learn more and more and more. They don't worry about the consequences. Look at the HARP project, all of those. They don't care about what happens. Look at the atomic bomb. We could have blown up the world when we did that, because we could have ignited all the hydrogen atoms in the air. But the scientists don't care. They just want to experiment. So this case, they said they were working on dark matter. And I said, what were they doing? They said they were trying to create their own universes, their own wormholes. Now, what does that sound like? Those of you who know, you know what's going on right now, don't you? The collider experiments. You heard of those, haven't you? The collider experiments. Okay, I write about it in the book. If you look it up on the internet, you'll see it. It was going on this last year. These scientists were trying to create a wormhole, trying to create a new universe. And they have built this huge machine. They said it is the most powerful machine in the history of the world to shoot atoms and things at each other. And the explosion, they said, they're hoping, create a new universe and create a wormhole. And this is why they're always saying, we want you to know these things because you're repeating the same mistakes now. Well, these scientists that are doing the collider experiment are working with antimatter. And this is what they said they did in Atlantis. They were working with dark matter. And when they were doing it, it got away from them. And it began to destroy the grids of the earth. And they said the grids of the earth, because of this, working with it's hard for me to understand. It has to do with the atoms and all of that in the wrong way. They began to act on each other, and it began to collapse the grids of the earth. So they said we had to step in and destroy it and stop it, because if it would have continued, the entire earth would have collapsed. All the grids collapsed, and it would have had an escalating effect, and the grids of the entire solar system, the grids of the whole universe would eventually all collapsed on itself. This is what they keep saying they're afraid of. So they said we had to step in and destroy the population at that time. And I'd never heard that explanation before. But that was one time. So they said we don't do it unless it becomes an absolute emergency. And naturally, when that happens, life starts over again from scratch. Because they said it's like blowing a fuse. You can no longer have the powers, the mind powers, the psychic powers you had at that time. You've got to pull the plug. Everybody starts over again as savages, from the ground up all over again, to build a civilization. And now we're at this point where we have finally got a civilization again. Because they said, so much time is wasted when you have to start all over again. Every time they've had to step in and stop the civilization, starts all over again, all over again. They don't like that. And they said, right now, we are getting to this point again. it would be nice if you could just come in and say, stop it. But they're not allowed to do that. That's interference. So what they decided to do, they went back to the councils. There are councils over everything, and they have councils they report to. There are rules and regulations that run everything. Nothing is by chance. They went back to the councils, and they're saying, well, what are we going to do? We can't just go in there and stop them. They came up with a plan that I think is brilliant. They said, we can't interfere from the outside. What about if we influence from the inside? So what they decided to do, the people on earth are too caught up on the wheel of karma, repeating the same mistakes over and over again. We got to bring in souls who are not caught in that. Souls who are pure, who have never known violence, who have never been trapped on the wheel of karma. That's what we have to do.
Congratulations. You being here on Earth at this time means you're a higher vibrational soul that's up for the challenge. Souls here are the best of the best and the best of the worst, so watch out. So the veil between the spiritual realm and our current earthly reality is thinner than it's ever been. We're on the verge of change, so it's time to get to know yourself. Get out into nature. Do the things you love. Spend time with family. Break free. When we forgive others and when we forgive ourselves, it breaks those ties holding us to that vibrational state that we were in. With the veil being this thin, it's easier for outside influences to latch on. Make sure to say a protection prayer in the morning when you get up and before bed. Be mindful of your thoughts. Ask yourself, are these my thoughts? And of course, love is the highest vibrational emotion. So love everybody. Love your children. Love your neighbor. Love your ex-husband. High vibrations are super catchy. And according to Dolores, that's what we need. We need to inspire each other to turn this mess around. Check out Erin'sEnergy Healing over on Facebook. I offer the Lightworker Healing Protocol, personal cleansing. You guys, this literally changed my life. As far as spiritual attachments go, it's the best I've ever seen. Just hit me up with a direct message on Facebook if you have questions or if you're interested. There's financial assistance available for those of you who need help as well. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, each and every one of you. I love you, and God bless.